The author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, once said, "Synergy is better than my way or your way. It is our way." While the meaning of this quote is fairly obvious, it is important to note that synergy is not an easy place to get to. It requires more than just people working on the same issue. It needs people to choose an outcome and work together for it while placing their own egos and realizing that their ideas may not be the most effective. Like the term synergy, there is an astronomical term called syzygy. The likeness in the two words is not a coincidence. Syzygy is defined as when a nearly straight line configuration of celestial bodies align, like the upcoming solar eclipse. It is the alignment of three or more bodies in perfect formation to achieve something greater. Syzygy, like synergy in groups, is defined by Hirakawa as it occurs when the system is more than the sum of its parts. The article, Getting Your Stars to Collaborate, written by Harvard fellow Heidi Gardner, explores how to get the stars of a group to collaborate instead of competing, and thus cultivating synergy in a group. Gardner's article explores how the Dana-Farber's Children's Cancer Research Foundation, under its leadership, created an environment where the star scientist would be willing and able to share their findings. Instead of separating the different discovery and business functions, the system was evolved to intertwine the two for a more productive and inclusive environment. How well do you cope with change in your work environment? Do you balk when a new system is introduced? Have you felt overwhelmed or stressed when processes change? Well, you are not alone. Having to work on new processes with a small group is one of the most stressful occupational issues. Heidi Gardner, the author of this article, emphasizes engaging in smart collaboration. This is defined as encouraging employees to work together across different departments or specialties. Within this case study, we will be discussing effective ways to foster collaboration in a group, the difference between creating competitive versus a collaborative team, and how to re-evaluate group dynamics that foster or hinder group collaboration. We will also be comparing instances of group decision-making from our case study to the functional perspective and theory of structuration. The original organizational structure of Dana-Farber's Foundation thrived from competitive individuals that performed best without traditional supervision and oversight from managers. Specialists of Dana-Farber had free range to handpick their individual interests, which in return produced outstanding research and coined substantial government funding and compensation. Although this proved to be effective, the concerns of the future and how complex cancer care had become triggered the need to change the competitive and individualistic environment to a more collaborative base. Integration of multidisciplined specialists would bridge the gap from their current stifled success to an abundance of future continuity. By looking at these 3 points, newly discovered resources, structure, and training and education, we will be examining how Heidi Gardner analyzed and explained the success of Dana-Farber's transformation from Children's Cancer Foundation to an institution that delivers care for pediatrics and adults alongside conducting research. So, how did they do this exactly? Getting the organization to change their structure was no small task. It required a vision from the company's leadership, including CEO Edward Benz and Chief Scientific Officer Barrett Rollins. Rollins was the first to recognize what motivated the scientists, which was the individual recognition and success. He realized that to reach the collaborative goal, he would need to change how the success was obtained. He also recognized that he had to keep the same motivations, compensation and glorification, but change the way it was obtained, which would open doors for collaboration. Teams were given a different way to obtain incentives by working together rather than competing. Rollins had each team review their centers and determine which were not performing at their highest due to the lack of collaboration. He then approached the leaders, sometimes multiple times, why working together was in their best interest. Eventually, the leaders were able to understand how collaboration worked in their favor. What involves assumptions and propositions to induce solutions are developed in regards in group communication and collaboration. If you answered functional perspective, you are correct according to Guran and Hirakawa. A common assumption of functional perspective is that a small group has the necessary resources and information needed to accomplish their tasks. The structuration theory can also be applied to this same example. The small group here fashioned a social system to successfully complete their task through a web-based platform. In this way, the Dana-Farber Foundation set up a web-based platform to discuss each other's projects, goals, and progress, according to Gardner. This allowed members to stay in sync by being able to see where each other stood. This example of the structure of web-based platform can also apply to Poole's theory of structurization. Gardner reported that Rollins had a few centers who were outliers and not using the platforms to share their information, which led to poor performance. Again, Rollins approached the centers directly and was able to convince the leaders that the platform was to their benefit. The new collaborative web-based platform, combined with the new reward model, did have its faults, however. The structuration model, as noted by Hirakawa, can take an unintended course. In this case, with so many of the now assigned collaborators being called on to synergize, it was quite a leap from what they were formerly used to, which was working with great autonomy. Thus, group decision-making and communication are unknown or unpracticed for this group. This can lead to difficulty creating and maintaining desired structures, even if everyone buys into the importance of the collaborative effort. To this point, Hirakawa says, training and education with a focus on making all members aware of the part they play in the creation and maintenance of structures is very important. And not all who can be impactful are necessarily leaders. Anyone could affect the collaborative effort. Thus, training and education across the boards is essential. Communication is a key element in successful group collaboration. Understanding group dynamics, hindrances causing competition versus collaboration, and addressing these issues through communication helped the Dana-Farber Cancer Centers find success among themselves. Everyone wasn't ready for rules and changes to structure. However, once it became apparent, the more information shared among them, the more successful the centers became. The bigger the incentives offers, the members learn to work outside of their silos. Finding tools that worked best for an organization to help facilitate communication, such as the web-based platform used at the centers, will help groups seeking collaborative versus competitive environments.